In this presentation, I'll discuss in detail about the Cryptolocker ransomware. This ransomware was known to have made rounds on the web from September of 2013 through May of 2014, before it was finally put to rest by an international collaborative effort. Before we go into the details of Cryptolocker, let us look at some of the known viruses out there. I'll explain definitions of these viruses and discuss their attack vectors. Let us examine the word malware. Malware is shorthand for malicious software. It is software developed by cyber attackers with the intention of gaining access or causing damage to a computer or a network of computers, while the victim remains oblivious to the fact that there has been a compromise. The primary intention of the attackers is to gain unauthorized access to the victim's system and the data present in the system. A common alternative description of malware is computer virus, although there are big differences between these types of malicious programs. Since Cryptolocker falls under a category of malware, first let us discuss different types of malwares that are out there. This slide lists some of the popular types of malwares. Just like traditional software, malware has evolved over the years and comes equipped with different functions depending on the intentions of the creator. Malware creators will sometimes combine the features of different forms of malware to make their attacks more efficient. Now let's discuss each one of these malwares in detail. Computer virus. Well, the name gives a hint. It's a virus with the ability to spread from computer to computer. At its core, a computer virus is a form of software or code that is able to copy itself onto computers. They spread from computer to computer through electronic bulletin boards, telecommunication systems, and shared floppy disks. As the virus spreads, it creates disruption. The name has become associated with additionally performing malicious tasks such as corrupting or destroying data. If the virus is found in any of the PCs, those PCs should be immediately isolated. Antivirus should be employed to get rid of the virus. The two types of computer viruses are parasitic virus and boot virus. Parasitic virus gets activated by the host program. Host program is a program where the virus gets inserted for the first time. The boot virus is designed to enter the boot sector of the floppy disk. The virus is loaded by the computer built-in startup program when the machine is turned on. While malicious software has evolved to become far more diverse than just computer viruses, some forms of traditional viruses that are still out there are the 15-year-old configure-worm. Malware, on the other hand, is designed to provide the attackers with many more malicious tools. Some examples of computer viruses are CBrain, MacMag, Cascade, and Jerusalem. Let's look at the computer worm. By definition, a computer worm is a malicious, self-replicating software program, popularly termed as malware, which affects the functions of hardware and software programs. It is similar in the description to a computer virus. For example, it can also self-replicate itself and spread across networks. That is why worms are often referred to as viruses. Computer worms are different from computer viruses in certain aspects. Viruses need to cling on to host files before they can diffuse themselves inside a computer. Worms exist as separate entities or standalone software. They do not need host files or programs. Unlike viruses, worms do not alter filters but reside in active memory and duplicate themselves. Worms use parts of the operating system and usually invisible to the other users. Their existence in the system becomes apparent only when their uncontrolled replication consumes system resources, slowing or halting other tasks in the process. In order to spread, worms either exploit the vulnerability of the target system or use some kind of social engineering method to trick the users into executing them. Once they enter a system, they take advantage of the file transport or information transport features in the system that allows them to travel unaided. Different types of computer worms are email worms, instant message worms, internet worms, and file sharing network worms. Let's look at Trojan malware. One of the most common forms of malware, the Trojan horse, is a form of malicious software which often disguises itself as a legitimate tool that tricks the user into installing it so it can carry out its malicious goals. Trojan malware operates by sneaking into the victim's system, often disguised as a legitimate tool, like an update or a flash download. Then once inside your system, it starts to attack. Once installed in the system, depending on its capabilities, a Trojan can then potentially access and capture everything: logins, passwords, keystrokes, screenshots, and system information. It secretly sends all information to its attackers. Sometimes, a Trojan can even allow attackers to modify data or turn off anti-malware protection. Trojans can be classified under many different types of composite classifications. A backdoor Trojan is the one that is designed to circumvent authentication, giving remote access to the hacker. A Trojan ransom, also known as ransomware, can encrypt the files and lock up the system until ransom is paid. The Trojan spy can log the keystrokes, and the Trojan malfinder can acquire email addresses from the computer's address book. A favorite of cybercriminals is the Trojan banker, which is designed to steal online banking and credit card information. Let's look at spyware. Spyware is a software which logs keystrokes and monitors the actions that are carried out on a PC and other devices. That might include a web browsing history, apps used, or messages sent. Spyware might arrive as a Trojan or may be downloaded onto devices in other ways. When you download a toolbar for a web browser, it might come packed with the spyware for the purposes of monitoring the internet browsing and the PC use. Spyware advertisements can secretly drop the code onto a PC via a download. In some cases, spyware is actively sold as software designed for purposes of implementing parental controls to monitor children's internet use, and is designed to explicitly be ignored by the antivirus and the security software. However, there are various instances of such tools being used by employers to spy on the activity of employees. Some examples of spyware are Android malware, which can spy on smartphone users. Ozango transmits detailed information to advertisers about the websites which users visit. Let's look at ransom malware. The Cryptolocker, which is our primary topic, is a type of ransomware. Some forms of malware remain hidden for longer periods. Ransomware makes its presence known immediately. Often delivered as an email attachment or as a link in a phishing email, ransomware starts encrypting the infected system immediately, locking the user out until they pay a ransom in the form of a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Cyber criminals have made over $1 billion from ransom attacks during 2016 alone. Wiper malware. Wiper malware has one simple goal: to completely destroy or erase all the data from the targeted computer or network. The wiping could take place after the attackers have secretly removed target data from the network for themselves, or it could be launched with the pure intention of sabotaging the target. Some of the Wiper malwares are Stone Drill and Mamba, the latter of which does not just delete files, but renders the hard drive unusable. One of the most high-profile Vipers of recent times was Petya ransomware. The malware was initially thought to be ransomware. However, researchers found out that not only was there no way for victims to retrieve their data, by paying the ransom, but also that the goal of Petya was to irrecoverably destroy data. Finally, adware. The final goal of many cyber criminals is to make money, and adware just does that. Maliciously pushes advertisements onto the user machine, often in such a way that the only way to get rid of them is to click through the advertisements. For cyber criminals, each click brings about additional revenue. In most cases, adware does not steal data from the victim or does any damage to the device. It just annoys the user by making them repeatedly click on the pop-up windows. However, in the case of mobile devices, this can easily lead to extreme battery drain or render the device unusable due to the influx of pop-up windows taking up the entire screen. Now, having discussed different types of malwares and how they get introduced to the victim's computer, we should be able to use the term attack vector going forward. Attack vector is simply the means by which an attack is launched to gain illegal access to the victim's computers. As we have discussed the different types of malwares and how they are launched, we can say that most common types of attack vectors are email attachments, links in phishing emails, instant messages, shared floppy drives, etc. Ransomware is one of the worst affecting malwares, and Cryptolocker, a type of ransomware that affected many from the late 2013 till May of 2014. Cryptolocker typically gets onto victim's computer via malicious email. As soon as the attack is launched, Cryptolocker starts encrypting the files on the victim's computer and also on the connected network drives. The attack is immediately made apparent to the victim in the form of a ransom demand message, indicating that the files on the victim's computer have been encrypted and the ransom needs to be paid within a certain period of time to get those files decrypted. The decryption key is held by the attackers. Not paying the money on time means the decryption key will be destroyed, which will make it impossible to recover the encrypted files. The ransom is demanded to be paid in the form of a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, both of which are impossible to trace. Let us look at the attack vector of Cryptolocker. Primary means of a Cryptolocker attack is via malicious emails and links in phishing emails. In the email attack, an executable that will install the Cryptolocker is attached to the email disguised as a PDF icon. Windows has a feature that allows one to hide the extension of a file. Attackers use this feature to their advantage and hide the .exe extension of the executable. The file is appended with a .pdf and attached to the email, which tricks the user into believing that they are looking at a PDF file. Innocent users will then click on the PDF icon, which launches the attack. Cryptolocker can encrypt a variety of file types, along with the common Word doc, Excel, and image files. The list shown in this slide contains all file extension types that a Cryptolocker can encrypt. The first attack of Cryptolocker was identified in the fall of 2013. Computers running on Microsoft Windows were targeted, and the attack made use of a Trojan to launch itself. The ransom quickly spread around via emails containing the malicious attachments and via Game Over Zeus botnet. A security company that participated in the collaborative operation to take down Cryptolocker obtained the database that contained the private keys used by the Cryptolocker. The firm was able to use those keys to build a decryption tool and made it available online to help the victims of the Cryptolocker attack. The Cryptolocker attacks that lasted from September of 2013 to May of 2014 were said to have affected more than 500,000 systems. The attackers have made more than $3 million from these attacks. Now let's look at the anatomy of a typical Cryptolocker attack. The attack can be segregated into 5 stages from the time it installs on your computer to the appearance of the ransom warning on the screen. Ransomware is delivered via email attachment in stage 1, like an invoice or a shipment tracking document, or as a link in a phishing email. The email usually looks very generic, but sometimes can include a real vendor name to fool the user. Once user clicks on the attachment, the executable runs and the crypto ransomware installs itself on the target computer. It modifies the registry keys to start automatically every time the computer boots up. Before the ransomware attack starts, it contacts the attacker's control server. This happens in stage 2 of the attack. In stage 3, the ransomware establishes connectivity between the control server and the client, which is the victim's computer. This is called handshaking. Once handshaking takes place, information is sent to command and control server. Server generates 2 cryptographic keys. One key is kept on the client computer and the other is securely stored on the attacker's server. In stage 4, those cryptographic keys established, the files are encrypted. Certain files are encrypted on the local infected computer and also on all accessible network drives. All this happens without any user interaction or notification. Often, automatic backups of the Windows operating system are deleted to prevent data recovery. In the last stage of the attack, a message appears on the user's desktop explaining how a ransom can be paid, usually in the form of bitcoins, within a certain window of time to enable decryption of the data with the private key that only attacker's system has access to. Some attackers even provide customer service information. Now, user is left with the choice of paying the ransom or restoring from the backup. Paying the ransom sounds like the best choice based on the value of the encrypted information, but paying the ransom increases future attacks. The ransomware just deletes itself, leaving behind the encrypted files and the ransom notes behind. Here is a sample error message of a typical Cryptolocker attack. It displays how much time victim has to pay to get the decryption key. It also wants the user not to attempt to delete the software, as the attempt would lead to the complete destruction of the information that has been encrypted. Now let us think that your computer has been attacked and now you have a decision to make, to pay the ransom or not. The experts, as well as Microsoft itself, advise against paying any ransom. Even after paying the ransom, there is no guarantee that the victim's files will be back, and paying might just encourage more ransomware attacks. If the attack is screen locking ransomware attack, the recommendation by experts is to certainly not pay, as there are ways to get around it. If the attack encrypted legal, medical, or business records, precious family photos, or other important files, paying a ransom of $350 or so look like a good option. But most ransomware criminals do not unlock the files after ransoms have been paid. So it's a tough choice to make whether to pay the ransom or not. Once you have made the decision to pay or not to pay the ransom, follow these steps to deal with the ransomware. First, disconnect your machine from other machines and from external drives if you are on a network. Go offline. Don't want ransomware to spread to other devices on your local network or file syncing services such as Dropbox. Use a smartphone or a camera to take a photograph of the ransom note presented on your screen. If you can take a screenshot, do so as well. You will want to file a police report later. Use antivirus malware software to clean up the ransom from the machine, but only do so if you are determined not to pay the ransom. Otherwise, wait until you have recovered your files. You may have to reboot in safe mode by pressing the power button and the S key on the keyboard at the same time. Removing the ransomware will not decrypt your files, and it may even kill your chances of getting the files back by paying the ransom. See if you can recover deleted files. Many forms of encrypting ransomware copies your files, encrypt the copies, and delete the originals. Fortunately, you can often recover deleted files easily with tools such as free Shadow Explorer or the paid data recovery download. Shadow Explorer is a downloadable free tool that makes it much easier to explore all of the available shadow copies on your system. This is a useful ability when you have a wide range of files infected with Cryptolocker and need to restore a swath of them at once. Shadow copies is a tool that is an integral part of the system restore feature in Windows. This is turned on by default on client versions of Windows. Best practices for storage administration have you turning this on manually on Windows-based file servers. If you have left this sitting alone, you likely have backups right on your computer or file tray. Here are some mitigation strategies that can help foil a Cryptolocker attack or survive the attack if it takes place. The first best defense that can be employed to foil a malware attack is a wary user. User training always plays a very important role in foiling targeted malware attacks. Another strategy is to create software group policy that will restrict users from running executables. As we discussed earlier, shadow copies feature should be left turned on so that in case of an attack, backup files can be recovered.